Will you sleep well tonight? For a lot of people, it's not going to happen. And I know for a lot of parents, that's a tricky thing. And I understand that people work shift work. You got kids that aren't sleeping so well. You yourself are maybe dealing with multiple problems and issues in your life. You got to go to get things done late at night or get up early in the morning. But getting into a good rhythm of sleep is absolutely necessary for your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotion, your finances, your long term, your health. And whatever that looks like, even if you go to bed at 1 a.m., whatever that kind of routine, or even within shift work, whatever that routine is, it is very beneficial for you to practice the same types of things over and over again. But we'll talk about that. So I'm going to go into what you can do throughout the day to get better sleep, and then I'm going to talk about the things you can do before you go to sleep at night. Now, again, I preface by saying that this may not work for you if you have shift work or if you got a crying baby in the middle of the night. I am talking to you, but at the same time, I'm not, because obviously I understand both of those irregular problems and it is difficult. But when you can, you want to try to practice these tips, and you obviously check with a professional sleep therapist. But these are the things that have helped me and the things that I've seen and researched and pointed people in that direction. So let's start off with when you get up in the morning. And one of the things you want to do in the morning, if again it is possible or whatever you can, is try to get that morning sun. Maybe it's like 5-10 minutes. When you get up, maybe it's just going to the window, open up the window, getting some beautiful morning sun, usually before 8 or 9, 10 a.m. It really helps with setting your circadian rhythm for the day. Now, if you work shift work, you want to make things as dark can be when you are trying to get to sleep, or vice versa. Say it's maybe the middle of the night and you have to get up to start a shift at, let's say, 2 in the morning. You want to try to get all the lights on in your house, or there's some light manufactured boxes that you can get to help you get up in the morning. So you want to get that light in the morning. And it depends on how you eat and when you eat. A lot of people would say that if you want to get a better night's sleep, you want to eat earlier in the day to help with digestion, just feel better about the day in general. Again, I am a guy who can't stand breakfast, so me getting up usually at around 7 a.m. With the kiddos is something that I just don't feel like eating. I don't feel like eating until around 11, 12, 1 o'clock, right? So I eat a little bit later in the day. I tend to sleep fine because it is now moving into the other things that I do throughout the day that I think has helped me. And granted, my sleep can go at any time. It has done that in the past. I don't want you to think that I am just speaking out of my butt here and I've got everything pat down. I'm not like a sleep guru or anything, but I think it's very necessary, especially in the recovery side of your life. So throughout the day, you want to be cautious of if your body is sensitive to caffeine or not, and alcohol. Caffeine obviously is a stimulant, and it can last up into your system usually at a half-life around 6 to 8 hours. And so obviously you want to be very careful. If you're going to bed at maybe 10 o'clock, having a cup of coffee at around 4 could be very detrimental for you. I usually try to go to sleep around 12. I stop my coffees, usually drinking around, I drink up maybe 1.5 coffees that I'll sip throughout the day, and I'll get maybe, latest I'll be sipping is probably like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. But usually I even try to get that done beforehand, unless I need a kick for driving home, which I used to do more regularly when I was driving through the heart of the 401 in Toronto, which is one of the most chaotic, crazy places to drive in North America. I would say not in the world. I've seen traffic in the rest of the world. I think we're spoiled sometimes. We overblow things, but definitely in North America, it's one of the crazier places. But yeah, so I would sometimes have, another coffee just to get me through that drive home in the evening. But again, you may want to look into the stimulus. That goes for tea. That goes for green tea. There's a lot of caffeine that goes into those monster drinks. That goes into having a Coke or a Diet Coke. There's a lot of Chocolate, lots of chocolate in the evenings or in the afternoons. There's actually a lot of sneaky ways that caffeine can get into your system and cause you to be up at night. And even decaf coffee, as much as they take a lot of the caffeine out, it's not always fully decaffeinated in that sense. So you want to, take that into effect. Now, when it comes to food in particular, towards the evenings, you want to have more of a higher protein, not as much carbs. That will definitely help you to sleep a lot easier. Now, granted, you don't want to eat probably a whole chicken just before bed because that'll give you indigestion. But just having more proteins, more vegetables, things that are long-term digestible, but also a lot more easier to digest, seem to work well in all the studies that I've read, and even anecdotally. Usually 3 or 4 hours beforehand, getting in your proteins is just a fantastic way to slow your body down, get your body into the right place. Now, if you're really struggling to sleep, one of the meals that I've found to be very power packed for serotonin, which then helps produce melatonin, would be what I call my super bedtime oatmeal. Now, I have this about 3 hours before I go to bed, and it's usually about a cup of oats, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 1 banana, and a cup to a cup and a half, or 2 cups of milk. Heat that up proper, and that is one of the most power-packed meals, especially for a dude, that you can have with that serotonin, and that helps to enact, especially when you warm it up with the milk and the proteins, and there's some, I think it's lipids. I can't remember exactly. I'm not too sciencey that way, but there's just so many wonderful properties that can help you to go to sleep and produce better melatonin for your body, which is just fantastic for your overall rhythm to get to sleep. So now, as we're progressing into more the evening side of things, you want to get into a routine. You probably want to get off your computer screens, your screens in general. Maybe it's right now. Maybe, you know what, get off the stream, get off this video, and just shut down and start doing things that will calm you down. Maybe listening to some music, maybe reading a book, whatever it might be. You want to try to get into a more calm state. When you get those blue rays going in, it acts as kind of like a midday type of light. Which is one step that I did forget as well, which is to, if you can get an evening walk in after dinner, and again, this goes against the people who are, working shift works or new parents. I understand that. I've lived both. That you want to try your best to get that walk in, and the reason for that is because you'll get the UV rays that are towards the evening, which are telling your body to shut down. You have the daytime UV rays, which are going to wake you up. Your midday, which are going to, be your power pack vitamin D UV rays, and you got those rays that are really going to help you to, get your body to chill out for the night. That's another great one. Magnesium is an absolute, is a monster when it comes to supplements, what I'll get to in a second. When it comes to finishing up the evening with a walk and getting the right light, that is something you can absolutely do naturally without any cost. As well as maybe some, with cost, would be the blue light blockers if you're going to watch some TV or whatever it might be, because that is going to help your eyes to start to initiate that shutdown mode. You want to try to get your room cool if possible, and you want to make sure that your bed is nice and toasty warm, getting that nice blanket to be able to help to just soothe your body, get yourself into that cocoon-like state. And you just want to have a nice routine. Do the same things. Tell your body that you're shutting down. We have a stretching routine, we have a go to work routine, we have a lunch routine, a dinner routine. We have all these wonderful routines, but a lot of us, don't practice a good bedtime routine. My kiddos, we start our bedtime routine by around 7. Usually they're all passed out by 8, 8:05, 8:10, depending on the night, and if they're sick or whatever. And if we start to miss that window, you can see the behavior starts to change. They get overtired, they're frustrated, and it took us a while to figure out all of the nuances to what they needed and how they needed to do it, right? Like, at first we were brushing their teeth a lot earlier, and then we started brushing their teeth way close to the end of bedtime. And then we realized that we needed to do that somewhere in between. when we give our last small bottle of milk to our youngest daughter right now, when we read our book to our eldest daughter. There's all these rhythms that you got to work out, and if you're really cognitive about them, it'll really improve your sleep as an adult by taking these types of steps. And going into the supplement side of things, so as Thomas mentioned here, one of the things that you want to do is you want to look into the foods that you're already having, because you don't want to overdo anything in life, right? It's just not great to overdo anything. People say, oh, you can drink as much water as you want. Well, at some point, and I know this is way out of control, I'm sorry, this is way out of the rules of the norm, but you can actually get, from what I understand, get drunk off water. You could hurt yourself. You could even kill yourself if you drink too much water. So there's, in this life, for the most part, balance is key. But yes, I have found that magnesium does wonders. It helps with getting you down to sleep. I think milk thistle is also another one of those game changers, and there are a few more natural remedies. One that escapes me as I'm streaming here, and my mind full on escapes me. There's one that I just heard of recently, which is really good, good supplement, natural supplement. And then of course you have your melatonins, and you have different sleep aids that I like to call them, and you got heavy medication. And you probably don't want to be on the heavy medication for too long, but I look at it in the people that I've helped over the years to get better sleep and to stop stressing in their life, and life coached over the past 20 years. One of the things that I want to be cognitive of is the fact that you can get addicted to some of these types of pills and lifestyle, or they can just run out on you. So I think it's more so trying to do as many natural things as possible and using it as your ace in the hole. Are your heavy days Wednesdays at work? Okay, maybe that's the day you need to take a sleep aid, right? Benadryl usually works super well for me. I had a former boss who used to tell me that coffee would actually make him pass out, and Benadryl would cause him to perk up, right? And I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? Our bodies are all different, but these are just kind of rules of thumb, thumbs of rules, one or the other. Anyway, so you just have to kind of figure out what your body needs. Use whatever you can to get a good night's sleep, at least once every night or two. But when you practice these types of routines and you're cognitive, you will, I think, pass out and you will get the benefits of the sleep that you need in that recovery. Last but not least, I will also mention that if you are struggling to sleep, you stressing about you trying to sleep or stressing about you getting to sleep is not a great idea. And that's why I think having various forms of entertainment that may not be screen related may be super healthy. Again, whether it's reading a book, listening to music, maybe it's a crossword puzzle, maybe it's doing an actual puzzle. Do things that will relax you. And if push comes to shove and you are a media-based person and you can't fall asleep and you're like kind of stressing out about going to sleep, then I would say, take advantage of the time that you have up. And at that point, if you have to, watch a movie. Enjoy your time while you're up instead of being anxious, because the anxiety is going to burn you out anyway. It's going to cause you to stay up even longer than you were supposed to. And that's just going to be a breeding ground for problems the next day. So, hopefully some of those tips helped out. I really did struggle with sleep for some time. I know many people who struggle, and this is constantly on my mind to get into those rhythms. So I'll just quickly recap here before I park this car and get on home, as a matter of speech, and say that I think at the end of the day, you want to, well, I guess at the beginning of the day, you want to get that sun. You want to be careful about the food you're intaking with caffeine. You want to be able to start your routine early. If you need to take some kind of sleep aid or some kind of natural product, you want to do that 2 to 3 hours before bed. If you want to have a meal that will help settle your stomach, or that'll cause more serotonin buildup, then you want to like figure that out and maybe get that into your body 3 or 4 hours before bedtime. You want to cool down the room, get those nice comfy covers, stick to that routine, and then allow your body to just float into sleepy, sleepy land. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If you'd like to take a look at any other Dad Doing Dishes episodes, take a look right here. I'd love to get as many viewers as possible in these videos in the playlist. And if you would like to like or subscribe, that helps so, so much. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day, evening, morning, or night, and a great sleep. God bless.